If you want to have some fun next week, and goodness knows we've earned it after this event, after you go back to your constituent brands, wait for an opportunity where your entire senior management team is in the same room or around the same table. Wait for a lull in the action and say something like, hey, you know, just for giggles and grins, while we're waiting on this conference call, let's everybody take out a piece of paper, and I'd like you to write down the meaning of omnichannel. When you say omnichannel, what is it you mean when you're thinking of that? Now, as soon as you drop the O word, a couple of things will happen with your executives. The first is several of them will take a deep breath like they're about to talk for a while, and you have to cut them off at the pass. You have to say, I know. Omnichannel is the most important initiative in the history of history, and we need to implement it with this barbarians at the gates, Eric the Red, William Wallace. I know. I get it. I know that you have issued to every C-level executive in the company a complimentary baseball bat with the phrase omnichannel emblazoned upon it to make it easier for them to constantly wail on me and my staff at every opportunity. It's important. I get it. The second thing that will happen is that they won't want to write down. They'll want to verbalize to you. And in my experience, when people verbalize about their thoughts behind omnichannel, they start out very strong, and after a few words, they run out of things to say, and they want to do other things. They want to sketch little doodles and things. They'll say to you, we want to build programs and processes by which, and then the hand motions are popular too. You know, customer, you know, like this, or a customer this, or the ever popular, you know, this kind of thing. And you've all seen them do it. And whenever someone says something to you that doesn't make a whole heck of a lot of sense, it's always useful to repeat it back to them. And so you mean this? You want this, and you'll have senior executives go, yes, I want that. And I can totally execute that. That's like a project plan right there, baby. That's what I make that in about 18 months, $9.7 million. Yeah, I'll get right on that. And this is not in any way to challenge or denigrate the competencies of our management teams, and certainly not mine. But we are at a time of unprecedented change, where customer expectation is growing at an alarming and accelerated rate, and it's tripping up the best of us. I'm with the Ascena Retail Group. We are 5 brands. We are Dress Barn, Maurice's, Catherine's, Justice, and Lane Bryant. I live in beautiful Duluth, Minnesota, the air-conditioned city. And I'm attached to the Maurice's brand. Maurice's as a brand has been in business for 30 years. They have made money 29 of those years. They've been profitable 29 out of 30 years. So my folks know how to make money. I'm sure yours do too, but these times they are a-changing. Things are happening now that we just can't keep up with, and nowhere is that more prevalent than in the pursuit of implementing omnichannel. There's a lot of fog out there. There's a lot of noise out there. That noise comes from the media. It comes from the media in our own vertical. It comes from vendors, certainly. And while noise raises the awareness of the issue, it also lowers the clarity surrounding omnichannel. But the answers are out there. And no time has it ever been more important to keep your ear to the ground and to enhance and maintain your personal networks. Because if you take the trouble to listen and you talk to the broadest possible spectrum of organizations, and I'm talking about organizations who have implemented omnichannel poorly, many of those, organizations that have implemented omnichannel well, and most strikingly, organizations that have implemented omnichannel poorly and then implemented it well. And you remember what they've told you, and you build those lists, you know, the data points do tend to coalesce. Eventually, data comes out of that picture, patterns emerge, and certain commonalities become apparent. I'd like to share 3 of those common threads with you today for your consideration. The first one we've already touched on just a little bit. What are we truly after here? What are we truly after here? What is the forsake of all of this commotion surrounding end-to-end interaction with the customer? You know, we all have pieces that we like, right? We all have things that we know need to be included. A lot of those pieces are the same among all of us. We want to stay relevant in an ever-changing competitive landscape. And we certainly want the holy grail of merchandising, don't we? We want to take this unit and sell it in this many channels, so those turns will just spin like mad. We all want that. And I think most of us want to do truly cool things for our customer. Things that absolutely positively raise the level of her life just a little bit. And you'll notice my customer is always a her. In my 5 brands, it's always she. So for all the male customers in the audience, my apologies in advance, but my customers is absolutely female. And all those things are good. Those things are all good and noble. And it's so easy to mistake those for a shared vision, but they're not a shared vision. They're just things that we want in our vision. Definitions and mission statements can be good as a starting point in the process that we're discussing today. And the basic definition is straightforward. This is the definition that we use at Ascena. Empower the customer to buy from us what she wants, interacting with us when she wants, where she wants, and how she wants. It's pretty basic stuff, and my guess is if your company has a statement of omnichannel, it looks a lot like this. Woohoo, call it a day, let's go home, we're done. Not quite. Because if you've been through this, and I can see in some of your faces that you have, you know that all of the really interesting questions are in constructing the bullet points that are underneath this. And I won't show you ours because they are, of course, proprietary, but I can tell you they were debated spiritedly. And they are bullets covering things like branding, priorities, truly what is more important than what. Give you an example. Does omnichannel mean homogeneous? Does omni imply consistency? You'd be surprised the different stories you will read if you can get your executives to write their definition down. Let me give you a point of view. People should experience our brand consistently across all channels. And so when we run a promotion, as an example, one of the most basic things we all do that is 25% off this particular stretch of days, that when someone sees that available in store signage, they should also see that when they go to the website. They should also see that in their SMS and on tablet and on mobile and on social. It's a very reasonable point of view, isn't it? Extremely reasonable. Next, go up and see your marketing group and say, do we want our customers to engage with us in as many channels as we possibly can? Well, absolutely. Thank you for visiting us from the island of duh. Yes. We want people engaged in as many channels as possible. That's a reasonable idea. The problem is that in practical application, those two very reasonable ideas are in conflict with each other. Because as a customer, if I see the exact same message in store signage as I see on the website, as I see in mobile, as I see in social, as I see in texting, then why would I possibly engage you in all those channels? There is no incentive for me to do so. If we're committed to consistency, are we really committed to consistency? Are we really committed to only doing things that we can do in all channels? I don't know if your stores ever do this. My stores run what's called a try-on event, right? Come in and try on our new pair of denim. We'll give you $5 off your next purchase. Well, as wonderful as my digital technology is, I cannot run a try-on event online. Well, then we just won't run that one online. So we're committed to this, but not in this case. Well, we're committed to this, but not in this case. I call this being committed up to, but not including the point of inconvenience. And I would question whether that is truly a commitment. These are very thorny questions that are best debated at the vision stage, the shared vision stage, rather than the Monday before Thanksgiving. Imagine the Army Corps of Engineers building a bridge, or something as common as an NFL team running a play. Can you imagine a quarterback calling a play and saying, okay, this is what we're going to do, everybody ready? Oh, and by the way, I think this play is going to take about 17 seconds, so at the 3 and 6 second mark, I want to convene back here for a status meeting. Obviously, with a shared vision, we all know what we're doing. And I think that something that gets lost in the noise quite often is that with a shared vision creates operational excellence, or at least the opportunity for it when we all know what we're doing. With no shared vision, we die of a disease, and that disease is called latency. You do the first one, it sets you up for success in the second one. Number 2, aerobic exercise. aerobic exercise. If I were to get up out of my chair in my office and walk down the hall, walk up a couple of flights of stairs and go see my corporate coordinator of fitness and wellness and say, Jamie, what is the very best aerobic exercise for me? Being a trained professional, she may say, cross-country skiing. That's a very reasonable answer if you're not familiar with the data. For a given time and effort into an exercise, you will burn 8 to 12% more calories cross-country skiing than you will in the next best aerobic exercise. It's 8% more efficient. You will use almost every major muscle group, and your chances of an injury are very, very low because it's a very, very low impact exercise. And so the answer of cross-country skiing, which, by the way, is not only theoretical when you live in Duluth, Minnesota. If your dog sled team is sick, it's the only way you can get to work. So the answer of cross-country skiing has the virtue of being correct without being right. And it's a perfect example of where we go off in the weeds on things like this. And I'll use myself as an illustration of that. Okay, I want you to take a good look at me. Drink it in. This is me, okay? You've never seen me before, but in many ways I'm an average American, and one of the ways that I'm an average American is that I'm not as fit as I should be. Now, never having met me and never having seen me before, if you look at me, do you think my problem is, yeah, I do exercise aerobically 6 times a week for an hour each time, but man, if I could just get that extra 8% efficiency out of that, I look like Michael Phelps. Okay. Or is it more likely that I know I should exercise 6 times a week, I shoot for 4, and the reality is I only get 2, which is in fact the case, by the way. And the key here where this is going is that while the correct answer is cross-country skiing, the answer to what's the best aerobic exercise is, for me, the one that I'll keep doing. Because it's the answer that solves the problem that I have. It doesn't solve the problem that I don't have. Solving the problem, you know, we're all problem solvers in this business. We have to be. Most of us love it, right? We love to suit up, get the suit of armor on, go out and slay the dragon, right? But before we do that, and it's so much fun, but before we do that, we need to know what dragon we're slaying. We need to know what problem we're trying to solve. This is where customer insights are key. And I don't mean asking customer things. I mean observing customers. I hate getting my hair cut. I hate it, I hate it, I hate it. Sometimes I think I'd rather go to the dentist than get my hair cut. I hate it for 2 reasons. First of all, when I leave, I look like this. Okay, so that's probably separate from this discussion here. But I hate to wait. I hate to wait. I'm a single dad. Minutes matter. I hate to wait. And so I would do what everybody else does when I would call the haircut place. I would go in there and I'd walk in, I'd put my name on the list, and they say, oh, it'll be about 17 minutes. And I say, 17 minutes, okay, I can go get my car washed, I can drop some books off the library, I can go pick up a couple of things at the grocery store, I'll be back in about 15, see you. Very complex process. And with the folks at Great Clips, that's where I go. It's like a Fantastic Sam's or a Cost Cutters or something like that. Said enough customers were observed doing this thing, and so they created an iPhone app. And it is nature's perfect app. It is the best app I have ever seen. You open it up, and it doesn't even ask you anything. It says, here's all the Great Clips locations in your areas. Here's all the wait times. Punch the one you want to get checked in on. Okay, in 17 minutes, you'll be welcome to that location. I can manage my own time then. I own it. I can walk in 17 minutes later, hang up my coat, get down in the chair, get up out of the chair, and I'm out looking awful in record time. What they did was they looked at what customers were already doing and they optimized it. This is called paving the cow paths. And it's a common term in architecture. It means building a public space like a college campus and not putting in sidewalks, but waiting a year, coming back and seeing where people have worn out the ground walking and simply paving over those. It's not sexy sounding and it's not creative, but it is tremendously effective. Customers will show you the way if you let them. It's also important to solve problems without creating new ones. I'm a firm believer, by the way, that there are very few geniuses among us, but that brilliance resides in all of us, and it is very likely to come out when we are not thinking too hard about it. Try as I might, I cannot find any pictures of Albert Einstein going, equals MC square. Okay, it just doesn't work that way. And people, if you listen to them when they're relaxed, they will tell you things. I was at a dinner party a couple of months ago, and it was one of those lovely affairs, and we were out with about 10 or 12 people, and I didn't know a lot of them, and I'm sure you have this since you're all in the business. The person across from me I just met, and they were in the digital space. And we were talking about all the wonderful things we could do in Omnichannel if we could just get our systems to talk to each other. So you could build an app. You could build an app for smartphones, and a customer could log into the app, and they could see all the styles that were available at their local store. And they could pick out what they wanted, and they could pick out the style and the color and the size, and they could press a button, and that would be transmitted to their local store. And the store associate would be alerted to that, and they would print out, and they would pull up a list, and they would go pull those things out of inventory for the customer, and they would stack them up ready so the customer could sweep on in there and pay for their purchase and get out of there in a minimal amount of time. Wouldn't that be cool? It's the kind of thing we're talking about every day, right? And we're kind of high-fiving each other over what a cool idea this is. And this woman at the end of the table, who I did not know, but who happened to be in my core constituency, she was in the demographic of my customers, after her third glass of wine, put her on her glass and was brilliant. And she said, yeah, but what fun would that be? I don't know what you all sell for a living. I do not live in the world of need. I use computers to sell cardigans. Okay, I live in the world of want. And what my customers want is they want to feel like they got a deal. They want that sense of accomplishment. They want this. They want to feel like they fought and they won. The art of the deal. Bless you. And this is where, again, I don't know your businesses. This is where the genders diverge quite a bit, and men shop very, very differently than women. And I am afflicted with a terrible disease called male pattern maleness. and I cannot think like a woman very easily, but I do know this, that a man will spend $2 on a $1 item he does not need, and a woman will spend $1 on a $2 item she does not want. Okay? There is, there is a thrill to this. I mean, walk into a friend's bedroom and look in their closet and say, hey, have you ever worn that? And they say, no, but I got a great deal on it. I mean, that's not a guy you're talking to. So the app I described with the end-to-end, look it up mobile and your local store gets it together, solves the problem of minimizing the amount of time that a customer spends doing something very distasteful. And that's not a problem I have. My customers love coming into my stores. It's spooky. They will describe it as the best part of their day or the best part of their week. And so in creating this fabulous, and goodness knows how many millions of dollars it would cost to do that, in creating this fabulous application, all I would be doing is sucking the fun out of that. I would be solving a problem that does not need to be solved. Technology poorly applied can suck the fun out of anything. Brings us to number 3. Distractions. Well, boy, we're still talking about distractions. We're talking about them a lot, right? Probably in your meetings as well. Well, the customer was very distracted this week. There's so many distractions out there. Now, something distracted her off the purchase path, and therefore she did not convert. And the idea of distraction is becoming questionable because it involves some big thing having our attention, and then some little thing comes and takes a bite out of that. And that's the distraction. The idea of distraction proceeds from an assumption of focus. It's an increasingly outdated concept. Okay, a distraction in the classic sense is you're driving down the street and somebody honks their horn and you go, huh, what's that? And that is not what life is like, not for our customers. Our customers' real-time existence is a life-size version of Mario Kart. It is driving down a careening, ever-changing path, and things are coming at you, and there's sounds, and there's colors flashing, there's things trying to eat you, and obstacles you don't know where they're coming from, and all the time you're looking at the corner to see how you're doing. Oh, I'm in 4th place. Oh, I'm in 3rd place. Oh, no, I'm in 5th place. That is not focus. You cannot proceed from an assumption of focus. Focus is now the exception, where distraction is the rule. I found it very enlightening to think in terms now of CDA. CDA. CDA is continuously divided attention. And it's a concept that I think has a lot of legs. And it's the idea that there is no focus anymore. There is no attention that can be distracted from, that we are constantly time sliced and sharing our attention within our mind. And I found it very useful whenever we're designing an interface or messaging or anything that is customer-facing to think in terms of percent CDA. And we've all seen the retail advertising that requires you to really focus on it to get it. I just saw this in the Mall of America last week. Okay? We have a sale, and it is 30% off already reduced clearance items. And if you don't understand that, here is a math problem to say if something was 30 off and we already reduced it, and then if that weren't bad enough, there is an asterisk and fine print underneath that says selected styles only. And I look at this thing and I say to myself, you have to be at like a 50% CDA. You'd have to have 50% of my attention to help me understand that. And I don't know about you, but if you want to get 50% of my attention, you better be coming at me with Scarlett Johansson in a bikini or less. Bringing me a cheeseburger. All right, as in, unfortunately, I was unable to convince Ms. Johansson to provide us a slide this afternoon. Very sorry. You see what I'm getting at? CDA. CDA has a massive impact on the way that we evaluate decisions. I mean, it's a common tale. I think this happens in most of your companies. My company sent out a survey on little benefits they could put in place for us to make our lives a little bit easier. And one of the things was, do you want a dry cleaning service? Do you want a dry cleaner to come to the office and pick up your dry cleaning and bring it back in a couple days later? Well, yeah, I don't even have time to get my hair cut. So that sounds like a really good idea to me. I absolutely want that. Minutes matter. For me. And lo and behold, good as their word, in a couple of months we had a dry cleaning service. And it's the easiest thing in the world. It's fantastic. You bring your clothes into the office, you take them down to the reception area, you put them in the bag, you fill out a form, you write a check, you put it in an envelope. It's really, really simple. Never done it. I've never done it. Now, was I lying when I said I wanted it? No. I really did want it. And it gets to one of the weaknesses of surveying customers for what they think. And it's a real bummer for us because the thing we have to keep in mind is that the benefit a customer is receiving must outweigh the overhead we are charging them. And that's not necessarily money. That overhead can be time or focus or hassle. And so that equation must evaluate not just to yes, but to, why not do that? And the problem with this is that the benefit is often evaluated logically and proactively, so 3 weeks ahead of time. Oh yes, I'd very much like to have a dry cleaning service. That makes perfect sense to me. Whereas the overhead is very likely evaluated emotionally and reactively in the moment. Oh, it's Thursday, I got to take my dry cleaning done. Yeah, I really don't have time for that. I'll just drop it off the way I always do. And that's exactly how customers make decisions. Not just yes, but why not? Few things raise CDA in a customer better than fun. I walked in today and I was greeted by a very attractive and friendly young woman in the hallway, and she gave me a poker chip. Does anybody else have one of these? Yeah, okay. So I'm kind of walking on, I'm focused doing my talk, and this woman gives me a poker chip, and attractive, friendly young woman, and poker. Okay, all of a sudden I'm at 25 CDA. She's got a nice slice of my attention. All you have to do to redeem it is go to booth 578. Now, what's going to happen to me when I go to 578? I don't know. I'm afraid they're going to make me fill out a form or something like that. I don't know. So the CDA has been raised. The challenge will be how do you collect on that without lowering the level of continuously divided attention in a customer. Went on a store visit with my executives over holiday, and it's one of these store visits where you go and you shop the competitors and everything. And I noticed that one of our, not a direct competitor, but one of the brands there had a new app in their window to try out, and I tried it out. And I should mention, it's a brand I respect, and it's a brand that I'm a customer of, so it's nothing against them. And it's a standard thing where you punch in the QR code and it downloads the app, and then it wasn't immediately obvious what to do. You had to scan a portion of their visual display to get something to happen. And I'm not a dumb guy, and I kind of, what do I want to do? It took too much CDA. It took too much of my attention. I knew there were instructions somewhere, but I just don't want to do. And I finally got it to work, and I was greeted with this really lovely multimedia display. And my reaction to it was, that's cool. And I was so intrigued by it that I went back the next week. And I wanted to do some market research. And this particular store had a bench outside in the common area of the mall where you could kind of see the entire store. And I was going to sit down and count the number of people that use the app and make notes on how they utilize it, and if they did it by themselves or if they did it with a friend and that sort of thing. So I got my little bag of Auntie Annie's pretzels and my drink, and I sat down and I took out my phone and I waited. And I waited. And I waited. And I started to get a little discouraged, but then I got more pretzels. That was better. Okay, then I came back and I waited, and I waited, and I was really giving it the college try, and nothing was happening. I was about to give up. And then I saw this woman come down the hallway from an entrance in the mall, and she did what I had done. She walked up to the window. She QR code, download the app. Okay, open it up. Same confusion I had on my face, trying to get it to work. And it was just too good of an opportunity to pass up, and I was leaving anyway. So I walked up to her and I said, I don't mean to disturb you, but I noticed that you're using the app. And her face lit up. She was very excited that somebody had engaged her. She was excited to talk to me. She goes, yes, I am. Do you work here? And I said, no, I'm doing some informal market research today. I'm actually with a competitor. And she said, oh, so am I. And we had a nice little moment there of, how long have you been sitting here? Oh, about 3 hours. And, how many people? Well, you're kind of the first. And, pretzels are half off. So, and I added her as a LinkedIn friend, so it wasn't totally a total misuse of time. But, and I'm not saying it's a bad app. I'm not saying that at all, because I don't know the thought process, and I don't know the brand's vision for it. But it's the kind of thing that someone on your staff or someone on your management team might look and see and say, that's cool, we should do something like that. And my point is not to say no to that, but to say, okay, does that support our vision of what we're trying to get done in omnichannel? And does this solve a problem that we really have? And does it meet the threshold of continuously divided attention that we expect of our customers? Can we get them there? It's not about saying no, but it is about asking the right questions. Leave you with a thought that was not comforting to me. As I told you before, I have a son, and therefore I hire a nanny to take care of my son, pick him up from school, and to watch him on days like today when I'm traveling. And hiring a nanny in Duluth, Minnesota is really pretty easy, because we live within 3 big universities, and you can find great candidates for nannies. And my process is I post on the job board, and people write back to me and say, well, I would like to have that job, and we kind of go back and forth. What is your class schedule? And here's the pay, and does that sound okay? And what are your limitations? And you sort of cull the list down. And at the end of the process this summer, I had 5 candidates, and at this point, what I like to do is invite them over for an interview. I want them to come over to the house, meet my son, play a game with him, interact a little bit, and I usually can see what the score is. And I emailed this one woman, and I said, hey, come on over. What days are good for you? And she said, yeah, that sounds great. I love that you want to interview me. Can we do it somewhere else? I said, somewhere else? This is all over email. Well, like a coffee shop or something like that. And she was the only person ever to come back at me like that. So it was odd to me. And then the more I thought about it, the more I thought, well, young woman, college student, maybe new in town, can't be too careful. That's reasonable. So I emailed her back, and I said, hey, I understand. You can bring a friend or a family member to the interview with you. Here's the address. You can drive by and see if it looks like the house of an axe murderer, something like that. I work with Maurice's, and there's probably dozens of people who work with Maurice's. Check me out. And we worked it out. And she came over for an interview, and she was just great. She was a fantastic candidate and just a really nice person. And we were done interviewing. We were kind of winding down. She's getting ready to go, and I said, since I have you here, just out of curiosity, why is it you were hesitant to come over and interview with me? And she said, well, I didn't think you were a real person. And keep in mind, she says this to me as I'm sitting across from her. And I said, come again? Excuse me? She said, I didn't think you were a real person. I said, why is that? And she said, I couldn't find you on Facebook. Now, you can peel the onion on that a long time before you get to the middle of it. And what we say, then we believe, but we don't really think about, is the world is changing. It is so very easy to hold on to the laughably quaint idea that we are still in the driver's seat on this, that we are still in charge of positioning our customers within a specific channel of engagement. where the harsh reality is that if we don't exist in the channel that she chooses, we don't exist at all. With the notable exception of any of you in the room who are direct competitors to me, I wish you all the very best of luck. Thank you very much.